Hello, and welcome to the first episode of L'anglais the Easy Way. I'm Richard Watson, and today I'd like to bring to your attention one of the most common comments I get from my students. They ask me, is it possible to learn a language when you're an adult? And if so, how do you do that? Now, I agree there are millions of people who don't think they can learn a language, millions of people who feel that they need a teacher, that they need specialized methods, specialized applications, etc., etc. I think there's another way to think about it. I think we can say that every single person on the planet has learned a language. We all have experience as language learners. We're all experts in our own language. So we need to maybe ask ourselves the question of how did we learn our first language and why do we do it a different way when we're trying to learn a second language? All through history, millions of people have learned even a second language with no books, with no Netflix, no YouTube, no Google, no translation, no dictionary. How do they do that? And I think the simple answer is they just practiced a lot. If you do something a lot, you get familiar with it. We know this in every kind of field around us. Everything you do a lot becomes familiar. Everything that's familiar seems easy. There's a simple way of testing this idea. If I could teleport any of my students into New York or Los Angeles for a couple of years, teleport them into New York, you've got 2 years in New York, no teacher, no dictionary, no classes. Will that person learn English? Of course they will. We know that's how it works. How will they learn? How will they learn the meanings of words if they have no dictionary? The brain sorts it out on its own when we practice enough. Familiarity beats everything. And unfortunately, in our system, we no longer think of that. Children at school are taught that learning a language involves learning rules, knowing the tenses, making lists of words to learn. But if you need to search for your words when you're speaking, if you need to think about your tenses when you're speaking, then in some level, you're not really speaking. You're repeating formula that you learned. And good speaking is about expressing your ideas. That can come with bad grammar, with a small choice of words, as long as you practice a lot and you can do it easily. So children show us how to learn. We've shown ourselves, in fact, how to learn. We've all learned a language, and children show us how to learn. What do? Well, as babies, they listen and they absorb. And they listen for thousands of hours. French children listen to French speech for thousands of hours. Everywhere in the world it works like that. They listen a lot, and then they try to express themselves, and then they're corrected by the people around them. Now, for some reason, we feel that adults need a different method, but we've got a blueprint laid out before us about how we learn a language. So what's the biggest problem I see among French speakers? Well, basically, at some level, the biggest problem for French speakers is they can't understand English when they hear it. They've never learned the real way to pronounce words. I get the impression that every French kid in every French school invents their own pronunciation of English as they're reading. They don't compare them with anything, and then when they hear real English speech, real English film, they try to watch a video, they can't understand it. And the problem is if you can't understand spoken English, then you can't absorb in the way that we naturally learn a language. We can't acquire a language. We have to try and learn it. And learning is nowhere near as good as acquiring. So if you can't understand English speakers around you, and if you don't know how to pronounce the words when you read them, that means you're stuck. You need to try to memorize words and rules and phonetics and tenses to try to make sense of the things around you rather than just understanding it. And the problem is you then have to try and apply those rules when you try to speak. You're not really speaking. You're trying to compute and calculate and analyze and use rules. And so it comes out forced and you can't express yourself. At some level, you can say if you don't know a word or if you don't recognize a word or a sentence when you hear it or when you read it, then in fact, you don't know that word. And if you don't know it, then there's no way you can use it. Basically, comprehension has to come before expression. Can I speak Chinese? No. If I wanted to start, I'd have to listen and read first to have something to say, because I've got no Chinese words in my brain. Okay, so we've come to the end of the first episode. Where does that leave us exactly? Well, that leaves us exactly where we were just talking about. You've been listening to me, probably understanding most of what I've said, perhaps not all of it. What's the next step? Well, the next step is listen again. Listen again as many times as you need to. Listen again while you're driving to work, while you're painting your house, while you're cooking or washing your dishes. Listen as many times as you can. Listen until you can understand as much as you want. And don't hesitate to read the transcription. Take a break, read the whole text. If you need to, translate the text into French. It doesn't matter. Then come back to it and make sure you can understand everything I'm saying. Don't forget to subscribe and catch the rest of the stuff that's coming out soon. Thank you very much.